Hi, this is Ashley Eckstein, voice of Ahsoka Tano, and thank you for listening to the Super Awesome Geek Show.
It's high time we got to the bottom of these shenanigans.
Hi, this is Ashley Eckstein, voice of Ahsoka Tano, and thank you for listening to the Super Awesome Geek Show.
Hey! Welcome. Wait, do I have... Oh, I got something going on over here. Hold on. We didn't plug this in. There we go. Before the echo starts, right? All right. Today we are here to take a look at Blackstar. And, I didn't grab the cartoon. Oh, well, I'll grab the cartoon in a minute here. We are taking a look at Blackstar. Today, it's Sunday morning vintage. I mean, that was a weird start. I know I clicked the wrong button and we had some shenanigans in the middle of the intro. Like, I don't know what was going on there, but yeah. In case we ever have any shenanigans, we have a...
It's high time we got to the bottom of these shenanigans.
Because shenanigans do happen on the show, so yeah. So whenever there's shenanigans, we can...
It's high time we got to the bottom of these shenanigans.
And all right, we'll live with it. Okay. All right, so here we go. Hello, Rolando. Good to see you, my friend. Rolando, I have a question. Do you also pop into podcasts and things, or does it only live streams here on YouTube? Because my friend Jason, so you want a history lesson? Do you guys want a history lesson? So and hello, Gerard. We'll say hi, and then I'll give you a history lesson here. Gerard, good morning. Good to see you. Lobot, how you doing? Good morning, super awesome. John Blackstar. Looking forward to this one. I am John Blackstar. I loved the Blackstar cartoon. Yeah, this is an awesome cartoon. And I think some really cool action figures. So that's why we're going into it. But here's the history. Here's some history for you here, okay? Hello there, Mark, Blue Harvest Toys. How you doing? Good to see Mark. Mark has a new show with Lax Sivrak. I don't remember what time that is on, but you should check it out. Anyways, so some history here. So there will be a new show coming up, but it won't be on my channel. I'm joining my friend Jason on his channel. And now Jason goes way back with me. 20 odd years of friendship, maybe 25. At this point, I don't know. But we met after I moved to Seattle. Jason and I met, and we quickly became friends because of similar interests in toys, comics, video games. Not so much video game. He enjoys watching video games, retro games, but he doesn't really play as much as I do. But still, there's that interest there, movies and films. And Jason came to me in 2014, and he said, John, I want to start a podcast. And if you've heard any of the podcasts of the Super Awesome Geek Show on iTunes or Stitcher Radio or whatever, iHeartRadio, TuneIn. We're on all of Podbean. We're basically on all the different podcast aggregates if you've got any of them, and the show is still there, but Jason and I so Jason came to me one day and he said, I want to start a podcast. And he said, I want to call it the super awesome #1 geek show. And I said, okay, well, but how do we do the website and how do we tell people about it? Is it super awesome NUMBERONE geek show? Is it super awesome NO with a 1 geek show? And he was like, oh yeah, you're right. There's 1,000 different ways to say #1. So if you tell someone go to superawesome#1geekshow.com, no one's going to know how to type in #1 to get there. They're going to have to try like 4 or 5 different things. So he said, let's get rid of the #1 and just call it Super Awesome Geek Show. So he got the website. He set it all up so the podcast would work. And I invited the first guest to our podcast, which was Royden Lepp, a guy named Royden Lepp. And he was a graphic artist on a graphic novel, comic book graphic novel. And we had a great time talking to Royden and doing this whole thing. And we got that episode up. And from then on, we were talking to webcomic guys, graphic novelists, comic guys who worked for Marvel or DC, just various people. And it kind of grew to where we started talking to voice actors and things like that. But Jason said to me after that first show, he goes, oh, John, I'm sorry. I didn't mean geek show as in comic books and toys and games. He's like, I meant geek show as in gadgets and technology. He's like, I wanted to be like a technology geek. But it was too late. He's like, but it's too late now. We're not going to switch gears. I enjoyed talking to that guy. You already got a few people on the pipe lined up. Let's just keep going with it as a comic book geek kind of show. But after a couple years, I'd say like 2 years in, Jason and the other guys that we had that he got involved in this podcast, they were kind of like, you know, I don't really want to keep talking about comics and toys. I want to do geeks to the technology stuff. You know what I mean? So in a sense, like, they kind of got burnt out with it, and which happens to every group that people are in. You know what I mean? You don't last forever. So he said, I keep the name. He goes, do you want to keep going? I was like, yes, I want to keep going. So he said, you got the name. It's your show. And he transferred the website over to my name. We moved everything over to my name, and Super Awesome Geek Show became totally my project. And then I moved it to the YouTube, like you see here, and continued going with toy reviews and other things. Got a whole new group of hosts. That's where another friend of mine named Jason came in, and Christina. I mean, she is a great friend and she was a fantastic co-host. She was like my right-hand gal on the show. And so that lasted another couple years before that group. What happened with that group is everyone started moving away. Christina moved from Seattle to Texas, and one of the guys who had a book, Michael Muntz, his book got optioned for a television show on. He did a series of novels, and the novels have been optioned, science fiction stuff with a bit of humor in them. Called Zeus is Dead. It's about Zeus, you know, the god Zeus. Like, all these gods, eventually they come to Earth and they spend like a vacation here in human form, just kind of tooling around and drinking and having fun and stuff. And one day in a back alley, Zeus gets murdered by some thugs or something, you know. So the whole story is like a science fiction murder mystery sort of mythology mishmash with a little bit of comedy in it about, like, what if the gods were real and they came to Earth, and one of them, while they were in human form, got murdered, and the other gods have to come down and solve the murder, you know. And it's a hilarious kind of, like, it's funny and sci-fi and mythology and fantasy all in one. And it got that series of books got optioned for a show on one of the streaming services. And I don't really want to go more into it other than that, because they haven't announced anything and he hasn't done anything. But they've been working on it now for like 3 or 4 years. So he left to do that because he's going to be, I don't know if they put him on as some kind of producer or like you reference him or what, you know what I mean? Like, they want to talk, they want to have them there present so they can get the story right. You know what I mean? So like basically there was 2 iterations of the podcast with 2 different groups of hosts, and then we have this iteration, which is basically me and all of you guys, popping in my live streams and doing stuff with, on the YouTube. So in a sense, this is the 3rd iteration of the Super Awesome Geek Show. Well, anyways, long story to get to this point. Jason has come back to me the other day and he said, I want to do a podcast. So Jason's like, will you come and do a podcast with me again? I want to do another podcast. And this time I was like, okay, what's the format? What are you doing? And it's all going to be, this is a second love of Jason and I. We would go on. So I had 2 really good friends that I would go on hikes with every single week. So I lived in Seattle for 17 years. And every single week of living in Seattle for those 17 years, I was up in the mountains walking through the forest. I was climbing mountains. I was going through the forest. We were backcountrying stuff. We'd find like a lake on the map and we would follow the river, off trail. We would find the river, follow the river to that lake. And if that lake had an outlet with another river that went further up, we would follow that river. So following rivers and following water paths, waterways like creeks, rivers, anything like that, made it so we felt comfortable that we were not going to get lost in the backwoods, because we would find a river or a creek or something, a waterway that crossed the normal path that everyone walked. So basically, like you would park your car down below, follow the hiking trail that everyone hikes on to that river, and then take that river off trail and follow that river to wherever our destination happened to be. And that's and my 2 friends, Jason and my other friend, Brandon, were the ones that we would always do these hikes with, and Brandon had a dog, Cedric, and Cedric became like the closest dog to me in any like person dog relationship that you could have. I loved that dog to death. It was the greatest. He passed away, and it was like I felt like I lost my own pet. That was how close Cedric and I were. And it's weird to say that you're like close to a dog, like but no, truly, sometimes these animals can bring you such joy and happiness that it's like you've got a true friend. And I think Cedric was the only dog that I've ever had that kind of feeling with, But anyway, so Jason and I, when we were out hiking, we would often be like, oh, we're going to go here. Maybe Bigfoot's in this area, And he was like, yeah, and if we're off trail far enough, maybe we'll see aliens flying overhead and they'll abduct you. And I could hit it on camera, But it was always me that had to get abducted by the aliens because Jason was scared to death of them. And and Jason also got scared to death. He wanted to see Bigfoot, like almost just as much as I would love to see a Bigfoot. But if I started doing like wood knocking, like you take those trees that you see you see it on Bigfoot hunters and stuff where they knock the trees with the wood, he'd be like, don't do it. What are you doing? Stop. Because he was so scared that something would knock back. He was like, even if something knocked back, he'd be like, I would have to leave. He's like, I would have to run down the mountain, get the hell out of here, because he was scared to death that Bigfoot was going to come over the hill and rip his arms and legs off and just like tear him to pieces. And I'm like going, no, when was the last time you heard of someone get ripped apart by, well, I guess you would never hear about that because they wouldn't be alive to tell the story. So I don't know, but I was always like, when was the last time you heard of someone get ripped apart by Bigfoot? I don't think they rip people in half and just throw their body parts all over the forest. I just don't think they do that, So, but he was deadly afraid. He wanted to see these things, but he was also deadly afraid of them, I think. So it's an interesting combination there with my friend Jason. But what is really cool is this podcast that he's starting up. It's going to be called Strange Weirdness. And it's all about the paranormal. So, and the format of the show is going to be Jason and I are sitting there, and he's going to read me a script. He's going to read me something that he wrote that's a story, basically, about the subject matter we're going to talk about that day. So, like, he'll come on and he'll say, hey, John, have you ever heard of Mel's Hole? Mel's Hole is this hole in Washington State that supposedly goes to hell. It's a bottomless pit. And these kids stumbled upon it, and when they threw something in there, it never hit the bottom. They never heard anything. One day they were playing around near the hole, and a cow or something fell in, and it disappeared. You know, like they never saw the cow. They never found it. They never heard it hit the bottom or anything. And then, like, days later, like, the cow came out of the hole, and it was like, what the hell, he's back. But the cow was never quite the same, you know. And they did a whole television series about Mel's Hole now. It's I can't remember the name of it. It's very, very recent. It's a science fiction. It's not the La Brea Tar Pit one, but it's very much like the La Brea Tar Pit show, where one of the cowboys on the ranch falls through the hole. And it turns out what happens is when you exit the hole in the future, like 20 years in the future, and he has to escape those future guys and jump back in the future hole to get back to the past hole. And it turns out that the girl who's on the farm that's investigating the hole or whatever is actually his daughter from the future, and she jumped through the future hole to get to the past hole, and she has a secret thing to, like, try to get to know him before he died or something like that. I don't know, it's crazy, but yeah, like, so there's gonna be, Jason's gonna start up this new podcast, and I'm gonna be back in it. So Jason and I, the original creators of the Super Awesome Geek Show, are now back together, and we are doing a new show, and it's called Strange Weirdness, and I think we're recording our first episode tomorrow. And Jason wants to pre-record these, and then he's going to do something with them, post them to all the podcast things. And yes, he said he would also do YouTube posting. So what I got to do is convince him to leave the video in, because a lot of times he likes to post, when he posts to YouTube, he likes to take our images out of it and just do some waveform thing. And I think for this, we need to be in it. So I'm going to convince him to leave us in it for the YouTube part, you know. Yeah. So anyways, there's your history lesson on Super Awesome Geek Show, and then what's going on with a new show coming up that Jason has in the works. And yeah, we got a lot of other people that popped in. Lunar Girl popped in, Rozaf popped in, Rozaf, Mr. B popped in, Mr. B. Lobot sounds interesting. So if you're into paranormal crap, you'll probably like this upcoming show, Strange Weirdness, with Jason Rigdon and John Adams. And it will be coming soon. It's one of Jason's channels, so I'm just along for the ride in a sense.
It's high time we got to the bottom of these shenanigans.
All right, it's high time that we got to the bottom of Blackstar. I've got some Blackstar figures brought in right over here. Add to the stream. I'm going to make myself small and you bring that to big. So I've got some Blackstar figures right over here. Now, I am trying a whole different setup here. I don't know if you can see this, but here, let's do this. So instead of having this giant tripod in my way that I would have, you know, with these big feet sticking out, I now have this clamp that I can clamp to the lamp, and it holds the phone. So I got this camera pointing at the table. So my hands and stuff are free to move about and not hit a tripod. My legs won't hit the tripod. So hopefully this works better, but I don't really know, because this joint where it detaches to the pole is not the best. I saw a similar thing on Dave's Dimension, and Dave was talking about how he likes these kind of clamps and has been using them. They're They're literally like a clamp. It's like a scissor clamp that clamps to it, and then you can tighten it up, and it has like a tightening bolt that sort of folds down. So it really can grip. But the grippiness is not the issue. The problem is the joint where it swivels around and moves up and down that this little bendable arm is on. It's not that secure, and it's just a little screw tightening thing, and I can already tell, like, I've bumped it a couple times and it goes tick 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 and falls down. It's got a ratcheting system, like a gear ratcheting system inside of it, and it's gone tick 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 and fallen down a couple gears. So the weight of the phone is clearly too much weight for that gear system ball joint that's in the end of that arm. So whoever designed this didn't design it with the weight of a phone in mind. I don't know what the hell it says it's for a phone, but it doesn't. The phone is too heavy. So yeah. I clearly bought the wrong one. I gotta find out from Dave if he has a link. He said he got it off Amazon, so he might have a link for the one that he gets, and maybe that one's better, and I'll try a different one. But anyways, Blackstar. Let's get into this. So I do have a website we can look at later. We'll go through what I have for Blackstar, and then we'll take a look at this. We'll take a look at this website that I have. There's a well, what was it called? I think it's Action Figures. It was actionfigures.ca, I think it was. Yeah, and they showed all the figures and what came with them. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So yeah, we'll take a look at that one in a second here, and it's a pretty good action figure archive, and it's a pretty good resource for these stuff. Did Super John just flip us all off? I don't know. Did I? Did I just flip everybody off? It really does suck. Morning, I am caffeinating. Okay. So let me turn on the lights here. We'll get some better lighting on this. And then after we look at these, I'll get the DVD stuff out too, because that's pretty cool. So Blackstar consisted of John Blackstar and his trusty steed Warlock the Dragon, and this was pretty cool, I think, because this is one of those shows. So Blackstar is one of those shows that was a lot like He-Man and Masters of the Universe. So John Blackstar, instead of having the wife, like, so in Masters of the Universe, I'm going to give you some parallels here. In Masters of the Universe, there was King Randor and his wife Marlena, and Queen Marlena was actually from Earth, and she went through a black hole in one of her space travels and got spit out in the planetary system of Eternia, and crash landed on Eternia. They had no way to get home. They couldn't figure out how to send her back to Earth. So she ended up falling in love and marrying the king of the land, which was King Randor. And they had a child, and that child was Prince Adam, who later became He-Man by getting the power of the Power Sword and Castle Grayskull. So you could argue that what makes Prince Adam and He-Man different than anybody else that lives on Eternia, it's because Prince Adam is half human and half alien. So that human half makes him have a deeper connection with his feelings, with empathy, with a sense of honor and a sense of right and wrong and justice. And that human side is what allows him to tap into the power of Grayskull and become He-Man, okay? Blackstar is sort of the same thing, but slightly different. Blackstar himself is the character that started on Earth, flew into space, got shot through a wormhole or something, and ended up in the world of the Trobits. And Blackstar is the only human on a planet of aliens. And by being different than the aliens, by being a different race, by being a human, he's the only one that's able to control the power sword and become the power of the crystal sword and get the power for Blackstar to be the powerful guy that will take on Overlord and his sword. So Overlord and Blackstar's swords, you'll notice they're two of a half. They will actually, these come together and form the crystal sword. And that also happened in He-Man. Like in the toys, Skeletor had a see how that works? They come together and form the crystal sword. And in He-Man, that also happened. In He-Man and Masters of the Universe, Skeletor had a purple sword that you could actually stick together with He-Man's sword and make the one superpower sword. But in the cartoon, I don't think the power sword had been broken in half yet in the cartoon of anywhere we saw in the original Filmation cartoon. But the idea was still there, that there was two swords that would come together to become one super powerful sword. So as long as Blackstar could hold on to his half, Overlord could never get the full power of the sword, even though they both had half the sword. But if Overlord ever did get the other half, if he vanquished Blackstar, he would take over the world. And if Blackstar could ever get Overlord's half, then he could stop evil for good and make the Trobits live a happy life. And the Trobits are these little pink guys. I have two of them. There's 3 or 4 common Trobits, and I'm going to try to get those 3 or 4. I got to get the other 2 common ones. And then there's like 2 or 3 that are super rare. So it's really strange because these common Trobits will be like $9 or $10 when you find it, when you run across them. But the rare Trobits will be $100. So I'm not going to get the rare ones because these don't even have any articulation. And would you pay $100 for that? No. So I don't get why they're $100 for the rare ones. There's one with big ears. We'll see them in a second because when we go to the website, we'll take a look at them. And then so every good guy that you bought, so if you bought John Blackstar in the store, you'd get a Trobit with him. So he'd be like, boop, a little guy would come with him. And you could also buy some of these Trobits on their own card back. And then likewise with the bad guys, you had Overlord. Again, this is a line that for some reason I have more of the bad guys than I do the good guys. And I think technically this guy is not a bad guy. I think he's neutral. He's a palace guard. And I think the palace guards are technically neutral. He's got a backpack with a hose that comes out. These all have glow-in-the-dark features. Those crystal swords, by the way, they they glow in the dark, by the way. These crystal swords will glow in the dark. And all of the weapons glow in the dark that these guys have. And I just destroyed the entire display. Everything's ruined. He's got this nifty little hat. Nifty hat. And yeah. So this palace guard is one that I had as a kid. My brother and I had this guy when we were kids. So this is what, and I had the lava lock. I had this guy, the lava lock, as a kid. This is the lava lock. And the lava lock, he, can you see the lightning flashing inside him? I don't know. Let's see if we can. Like his head. Yeah, there you go. You can see that. His head can spark lightning inside of his head because he's on fire. He's lava. You know? And this brings up another interesting thing too, because Filmation did Blackstar, and if you look at the way this lava lock is drawn in Blackstar, you later see, instead of having red magma-looking creatures like drawn like this, you see rock creatures in He-Man and Masters of the Universe drawn exactly the same as Lava-Lock was in Blackstar. So they even reused some of the animation from Blackstar for He-Man and Masters of the Universe. And I have a theory about a theory. It's my own opinion. It's my own theory. It's not. I don't have anything definitive saying this is what happened, but I have this theory that you can trace along, and you can get to a trial and error through a couple different cartoons and stories to what became He-Man and Masters of the Universe. And the reason He-Man and them was so popular was because they had this time to trial and error through other shows, including Blackstar. But yeah, so the Palace Guard, like his name says, is a guard of the palace. So the main king's castle of the world that Blackstar lives on. So I technically don't think he's a bad guy, but everything else is a bad guy. Overlord had minions like Neptune. Neptune is one of his minions, and he's kind of a fishy-faced trident with a shield. Now I think Neptune had a cape, so there would be a plastic piece that holds a fabric cape, and it's slotted. The plastic piece would slot into this little peg hole in the back. But the capes and wings and various things are very difficult to find. And when you do find them like online, they're super expensive. So I don't like, this guy's supposed to have wings, and the wings slot into the back, but I don't have his wings either. So, and I can't remember, is he Batroc? I think this is Batroc, Batroc, something like that, if I remember right. And he's got like a bat. It's a bat on a stick, and it glows in the dark. And he's got this little like dagger on his arm, and yeah. And he looks kind of like a bat, right? But yeah, so I think that's Batroc. This is Neptune, and Neptune, you can see, would later become, in He-Man, he'd become Merman, and I don't know if Batroc directly relates to anyone. And then we have, what was this guy's name? I kind of don't remember what this guy's name was, but he's got a helmet, which is cool, and he's got this bazooka. And they really thought of some interesting stuff. They gave the bazooka 2 ways to hang on to it. So we can hang on to it this way and just hold it up. And it's also got a peg to hold onto it this way, so that he can actually like use it like a bazooka, you know. Boom, 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 boom. So it's pretty cool that they thought of him, you know, standing guard with it, and then he's like the bad guy's guard, you know, like, I don't know, but yeah. And then the wizard person for the bad guy is called the Vizier. And I have him in a very rickety package. It's basically open. But it shows you how the packaging was, which I like. I like to have some example of the packaging. And that they all came with, like, the bad guys came with an alien demon, where the good guys would come with a Trobbit down here. You know, they'd be like, oh, where's the Trobbit with you? And, yeah, so... And then there was generic backdrop, laser light. This is a Series 2 figure where it had the laser light stuff. And Series 1 did not have the laser light. Series 2 did. And I think every figure after Series 2 had the laser light feature. But his chest would light up if you flick the little thing. But the Vizier was like his witch... everyone had a magical wizard on their team, right? You know? So, yeah. And the bad guy demons came in different colors. So, we've got like a red color, an orange color. There's a pink color. There's a yellowish green. and there's a blue. So you had all these different colors you can collect of the demons, and they were just little minion guys of these. See, this isn't really the best. I mean, you're not seeing every single guy. There we go. I guess you're seeing more of them that way. We'll put the blue one over here, and then yeah, there we go. So you got these are like little gremlin guys. You see how they're like, you got a bunch of them. They're all jumping over each other and taking over the world. So I got another green one that's in the package here. He's a greenish yellow. And I think in the other room there's another orange or red one. I can't remember what I have two of one of those. I think it's another orange one somewhere in one of the other rooms. So it's like I got a lot of the demons, and you're supposed to have enough. So a Trobbit came with him, so I got that. And a Trobbit came with Blackstar. And then a demon came with him, and him. So I should have 5 demons. Yeah, 5 demons. So, and then for the lava lock, I need to have a club. There was a club for the lava lock, so that's the only accessory weapon that I need. But like I said, I need to hit his wings and his cape. And technically, Overlord should have a cape that I think tied around his neck. Or no, it poked into 2 holes on his back. There's the holes. So they poked into 2 holes on his back. So again, there was like a plastic bar with pegs on it, and then the cape hung from that plastic bar. And the only, like, Blackstar took me a long time to complete. We'll look at Blackstar, and then we'll look at Warlock. So Blackstar is this awesome character. His legs are like stuck out because he's been on the horse or on the dragon forever. Great character. Has this thing there. Now the first series, like I said, the true first series one did not have any flicker in the back. So this is like, I had to have a true first series Blackstar. And he's supposed to have this little tiny red cape that doesn't go down even to his butt. It's a super tiny little cape, and it's attached by this thin little golden thread. And this thread can break instantly. Like it's like 40-year-old thread. So I mean, it just, if you touch this wrong, I've seen people break the thread and have to retie it and try to delicately get this thing back on. And when I found my Blackstar, luckily he had the cape with him, but he did not have the sword or the sheath. And believe it or not, like the sword was, it took me a couple years before I found one in the $10 range. Like the sword, and I had to get Overlord's sword too. It's not like I had one, if I only had one, I'd be giving it to Blackstar. But I eventually found a couple swords for in the $10 to $15 range. But prior to that, I kept seeing swords for like $50, $60, $70. And I was like, and this was like 10 years ago. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I am not buying a plastic sword for $100, for like $50, $60 and up, and then one day when I bumped across a couple weapons in a bin, and that's where I got both these crystal swords. And I was like, holy crap, I'm going to buy these while I can, because they're only like 10 or $12 or whatever, And normally you'd be like $10 or $12, $15 for a little plastic weapon is a lot. But when you've spent years seeing them at 50, 60 and up, and then you finally run across one for $10 or $12, you're like, that's cheap, I'm buying it, It's one of those things where like perspective, But the difficult piece was the sheath here. This little sheath that the sword can go in that sticks to his back. That thing, I've seen this thing sell for over $100, and it's insane. And I didn't spend a lot, but I can't quite remember how I got this or what circumstances led me to be able to get the sheath. For some reason, I just don't remember where this came from. It may have been in a junk pile, but I just don't. I'd be only speculating because I can't remember. I know I didn't spend that kind of money on it because I never would do that, in the past. But I had to have been like, holy crap, and like super excited, but for some reason I just can't remember offhand where this sheath, where I ended up getting one. But yeah, it's so what I'm saying is, if you see him complete with the sheath, the cape, the sword, and it's a reasonable price, you might want to just grab this guy complete, because trying to pick up these pieces, I don't know what the cape goes for, but I know that this string breaks a lot, and that's why I don't futz with it and try to straighten it out. Like, I don't try to make it like it's a cape. It's mine's kind of bunched up, but I don't dare futz around with it too much because I don't want it to break. And it will break. I've seen so many broken ones. But yeah, that's what I'm kind of just like saying, you might want to buy this complete if you're going to go for it, rather than try to find all these parts, or be happy to have the figure without the parts. You know what I mean? You might just say, I'll have the figure and the sword, but I don't care about the sheath or the cape. And then we have Warlock. Warlock was one of those grail pieces for me for a long, long time. So I wanted Warlock when I was a kid, when I was aware of these figures. We had Blackstar, we had like I said, we had the Palace Guard, and we had Lava Lock. I don't remember having any of the other characters. And we had some Trobbits running around the house, probably because we bought these guys. And I remember the demon. I think a yellow demon came with the Lava Lock, so I had a yellow demon. I didn't even know that the demons came in different colors till I was an adult. But yeah, this guy was kind of a grail piece for a long time, and he has glow-in-the-dark teeth. They glow in the dark. On some versions of this guy, there is a clear patch that goes down here, and I think that clear patch also glows in the dark. And he can come with either an orange saddle or a red saddle. I've even seen some with more yellow wings. They're more of a yellow type wing as opposed to green. So there's a lot of variations in this figure. There are some that have like a star, or almost like a star pattern, I think, on the skull, and maybe a star on the chest. So they altered the paint and what was going on throughout the time that this figure was made, because this is just like an airbrush spray of light green on it. So I think some of the artists would get fancy and sometimes do some weird stuff. These were made by Galoob, and I think it was 82, 83, 84, 85, somewhere in that range. There were 3 waves of figures. Well, we'll get all that in a second when we go to the website. But yeah. So like I said, this was kind of a grail piece, because even when I was young, in the early 90s, getting back into collecting, these were $100 to $200. And they have pretty much stayed steady at that between $100 and $300 range from like 1992 all the way up to like last year, you know. So, and I looked online, and I found an example online for around $150 or so dollars, and I think it had the yellow wings. So he's still in that $200 range, you know what I mean? So he hasn't really gone up in 30, 40 years, but it's still, I think it's one of those things that's obscure enough to hold its value, but it hasn't really increased. So even in the 90s, when I wanted this guy, and even as a kid, I never got him, but even in the 90s when I wanted to track him down, at that time I was saying, I'm never going to spend over $100 for a figure. I just had that mindset when I was younger. I was like, that's crazy. Who's going to spend over $100? And that included Star Wars. That included everything. I was like, who's going to even spend that much? And around $100 was the upper limit of a lot of toys back then. But I don't know exactly how I found this guy, but I found him while I was living in Seattle. And it was a deal that I just could not pass up. And I ended up buying him. So, and this Warlock has sat in my collection now for probably at least 15 years, maybe more. and it's a highlight of my collection because, like I said, it was one of my Grail pieces before. Like if I didn't have him, he'd be on the list right up there with Godzilla from Shogun Warriors and the Kraken from Clash of the Titans. Like this would be right up there alongside those in my top 3 Holy Grail items of all time. So yeah, this is definitely a Grail piece that I love having in the collection now. And the wings, I got to be careful here, but the wings are articulated. They do flap and they twist. So, and that's the only part that's articulated. And on the saddle, there are foot pegs to help the guy sit on the saddle. And like I said, that saddle can come in orange or red. And I don't know the story enough to know if one is more rare than the other as far as colors go. I don't know enough about it to know if the different head and body paint, if something's more rare than another. But I'm actually happy that I got one that's just plain green. It doesn't have a star painted on it because I don't remember seeing a star in the TV show, so I would live with it if I had it, but I mean, I'm more happy having this version than some of the other versions I've seen. And because this looks more like the cartoon, and I like just having the glow in the dark teeth and nothing else glowing in the dark because he didn't really glow like that in the cartoon. But Warlock in the cartoon did speak a little bit. It quite wasn't as much as say like a Battle Cat or Cringer, but he did have some grunts and growls that you could you could be like, oh, those are him agreeing with Blackstar or something like that, but not. I don't remember him full on talking like Battle Cat does, and that gets us to another sort of like similarity. So and maybe even my theory on this. So let me catch up with the chat and then we'll go into that. Okay, we'll go into some of that. So people are chatting away here. They're just saying hello. Weird Fantastic Toy Adventures. Bill, how you doing? How you doing? These figures look awesome. What size are they? They look like they could go with Motu. They are not Motu size. They're actually a little bit taller. Where do I have a Motu figure? I don't have a Motu figure handy. Let me see. So I've got so Toy Biz Iron Man is almost Masters Universe size, and you can see that like the Lava Lock is close, but the Palace Guard is taller. Do you see that? Here's a Black Series. We have the band member here from the Black Series. So the Palace Guard is almost Black Series height. You see that? And the Lava Lock is just a little bit shorter than a Black Series. Neptune over here. Black Series height. So these are more, I would say, more in line with a 6-inch figure and not so much the 5-inch He-Man size. These were done by Galoob, so they were not a Mattel project. But the legs and arms, they are very similar because they do, I even think they pop off. Yeah, they pop off the same way. So that is exactly the same. Like Mattel stole that. Do you know what I mean? Mattel stole that 100% from Galoob, and the legs are in that He-Man rubber band style too. So they an argument could be made that Mattel just flat out stole the design of He-Man figures from Blackstar figures. you probably could make that argument. I mean, so good catch there, Bill, because yeah. And then White Shadows here, Jonathan Redmond's here. When did this line come out? I have no recollection of Blackstar. We'll look at a website. I'll get you into this. Morning, everyone. Palpatine, good morning, my apprentice. I sense you continue your search for more toys. Good. So, let me share. Let me present a screen with you, and we will take a look at this action figure archive here. Let me make it big. Okay, there we go. And I will zoom in a little bit here. How's that? That's pretty good, right? So Blackstar, 1983, 84, and 85. So this is actually a pretty cool website for presenting the figures in a sense. So this is the Action Figure Archive. It is action-figures.ca, and when you just go to the website, it you get a giant list of like all the. Here, we'll just do this, and then we'll go forward. So you get a giant list of all these things that you're looking for. You can go through these toy catalogs, figure checklists, and you can basically find information on just about any action figure. Like there's even an ABC list at the top here. I mean, you can see that, right? You got that, yeah. So like there's Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, Air Raiders, AIM Team, All-Star Wrestlers, Black Hole, Bionic 6, Bone Age, Brave Star, Buck Rogers, so you just go through Flash Gordon. Like let's click that. So yeah, there we go, Flash Gordon. So you can easily get Mantech. They even have Mantech on here. Or do they? It's not something that doesn't click. What's going on? Why isn't it clicking on some of these? Anyways, all right, whatever. But there's some good archives here, and they show like what we're getting into here. All right, so we're back to Blackstar. Yeah, Bill, how you doing? Good to see you, Bill.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey, did you get? I haven't talked to you in a couple of times. Did you get the little Christmas thing I sent you? I didn't.
That was wild. I wanted to talk to you about that. You had said you'd sent something to me for Christmas, but I never got it. Did you send it by postal mail? Did it come to?
Yeah, U.S. Post to the regular or United States Post Office. I'll check. Well, when I get to the post,
you have a tracking number on it because.
And it says it was there. So I hope I didn't send it to the wrong. Let me double check a bunch of stuff, and I'll get back to you then.
All right, I'll stick around after the show if you want to stay on the StreamYard and talk about it if you want to.
But so how you doing, Bill?
Oh, I'm doing great. I was trying to remember. All right, so the figures came out in like 83, 84, 85. The cartoon show, was it on TV around 82?
Yeah, the cartoon was first. Yeah, earlier than the.
It was Filmation. It lasted one season, maybe two.
Basically, I have the DVD. Let me grab it real quick. I've got the DVD box set. I'm tangled in my shark hat.
Uh-oh. Actually, the figure line's very robust. I was surprised at how many figures there actually are available. I was just commenting while you'd walked away there, Super John, that the figure line's actually quite robust. Can you hear me now, Super John? You got your ears back on?
Yep.
I was looking at the figure list there. It's actually quite a robust series. I didn't realize there were so much available.
Yeah. It's let me see. I'll pull this out real quick. Yeah, it actually well, it's also misleading because series 1 and series 2 they're the exact same figures. They just
Uh-huh.
updated them. But here's the Blackstar DVD set, the complete series, and it shows all the Trobbits there.
13 episodes. It was
13 episodes. So yeah, it really was like almost half a season. It was, back then.
well, the actually Saturday morning cartoon series is ran about 13 episodes. If they got 13 episodes, they would throw them on and show them over and over and over again.
Okay,
And a
because
lot
I'm
of
used to syndicated shows like GI Joe, Transformers, He-Man that had 50
this was
episodes per season.
yeah. Most
So
most of this filmation stuff was sent to a net or was bought by a network. So I think Blackstar was on CBS if I'm not mistaken.
gotcha. Yeah. So yeah, 13 episodes. And mine is actually I had a chance to sit down for like a half hour and talk to the lovely Hal Sutherland.
Oh
So
wow! Okay, yeah, he was a co-producer there with
Lou Schweimer.
Lou Schweimer. Yeah.
Yeah. I never had the pleasure of meeting Lou Schweimer, but
My question is this, Super John. Now, I wasn't a Black Star fan as a child. I think he came on later on Saturday. By the time either we were kicked out of the house or wrestling was on. Uh, so was there a Lou Scheimer cutesy character in this, like Orko or Batmite?
well, that's what the Trobbits were.
Okay,
It was like a whole
a
village,
whole race of them in this
a
one.
whole
Okay,
village full of Orko. Yeah, yeah. And that gets with my theory that I want to go on with like a little bit later. So, TJ, how you doing, TJ and Steve-O at Collecting Star Wars? Good morning.
hey,
The Melvor is
Melvor.
here.
Hey, the Melvor, what's going on, man?
I hope I don't miss anyone popping in the chat, but if I do, I'm sorry, and I hello to you as well if I've missed anybody. But yeah, let's get this back on the screen here and bring it back up to there. And so Blackstar, I'll give you an idea. So Series 1 and Series 2 were basically the same, most of the same characters, but they added the light up feature. So we have Blackstar there, and then in Series 2 we got Blackstar again, but this part is now made out of crystal, like a clear plastic. And when you flick the little thing on his back, it'll light that part up. And Mara had a similar thing, Mara here. And then did she get maybe she didn't get a that version. So then
was that a good guy character or a bad guy character?
Mara is the good guy, sorcerer witch person for the good guys.
Right.
And she had a glow in the dark thing over her head like a halo, and then the glow in the dark magic feature that kind of shot out like that. I think it slipped onto the hand that's pointing straight out, and they came with the Balkar Trobbit. So one of these Trobbits came with Blackstar, and Polo I think came with Mara.
Well, you know what these Trobbits remind me of, Super John?
Hobbits.
And well, no, in He-Man there were actually the filmation series.
Oh yeah,
a whole little village of these little guys.
Yeah, the village of little they were little warrior dwarf guys. Yeah, they did. And then we have Cadre. That was the one. Oh, so my Cadre should have a cape also, and it looks like he should have a little belt of yellow things that I don't have on there. So there are a couple little pieces I'm missing from him, and I never even knew.
Were these capes cloth goods?
Yeah, cloth capes. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. The Palace Guard. So my Palace Guard is complete. Neptune. Yeah. And see how it has like a plastic rod.
I see
across,
that.
And then the peg.
Peg and goes in the back of their neck, right on their back.
Tongo was a cat creature.
Oh, he looks like Thorn the Lion Man, sort of.
Yeah. And he had a spear and a bunch of little weapons. I have a lot of these little weapons. I don't have a spear.
That's a lot of stuff for a kid to lose.
Yeah. But I don't have this guy, but I got a lot of these weapons. Scuba Pete actually helped me he gave me a bunch of Blackstar weapons and stuff, and some of them are for characters I don't.
He's just a cool guy, isn't he?
Yeah, we he ran across a pile of stuff, and there were things in it that he had. Number one, he didn't know, he had no idea what they were, and consequently didn't even need them. So I'm sure he kept a lot of GI Joe and Star Wars accessories that he got out of that pile. And then he was like, I got all these other things. Do you know what they are? And do you need them? So we traded. I was like, well, let's trade for something. What do I have that you need? And so we traded. I gave him something out of my collection, and he gave me a bunch of these accessories and parts,
Well, those accessories can get really expensive.
Yeah, they can.
They're going for on the Evil Bay there.
Yeah. So let's see. That is Tongo. Oh, Gargo was the guy I thought was like Batok or something.
Yeah,
it's not.
They got little detachable wings there.
Yeah, so the wings would hook into that. That's the part I need, are the wings for that guy. And it's weird that they're yellow instead of orange.
Some of these figures, even though they're taller, look like that they could play well with He-Man.
Yeah, and they actually look like some of the, like, this actually kind of looks like one of those generic He-Man guys. Like, if you ran across him, you might be like, I found this bootleg He-Man guy, not realizing that it's because you remember those bootleg monster ones that were like
the Warrior Beast.
Yeah.
They were made by Remco, if I'm not mistaken, around the same time they were doing the Warlord figures.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So there's a green and a yellow. Oh, there's one that's more bright yellow. Okay, so I need a bright yellow one, because there's a green demon, which I got. I'm calling him yellow, but he's not. There's one that's a lot more bright yellow. All right, interesting. So that's series 1. So series 1 basically had 2 good guys, 1 neutral guy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bad guys, and then 2 demons and 2 Trobits that you would get with the guys. So,
that's misleading the way it looks. Like, I can't. It's so small. I really can't see it on my StreamYard screen here. So the included small figures are on there as if they were part of the series instead of together with the character they came with.
Yeah.
Right. All right.
Yeah. Because you would get a green or yellow with any of the bad guys. So you would have an army of demons, and there was only 2 good guys in the lot, so you got 2 different Trobits. And then
there was. Oh yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the list.
Oh, okay. So then series 2 had like I said, had the Blackstar with the lightning effect. We added Clone. Clone was another good guy that was in their group. Most of the time in the show, it was John Blackstar, Mara, and Clone doing an adventure, and the Trobits didn't really go with them on the adventure that often. They had a village, and sometimes I think there was 1 or 2 Trobits that were more like the named ones, and they did go, I think, once in a while on the adventure with the character. They had a balloon that they would fly in overhead, but they couldn't really fight and do, like, you know what I mean, fight the bad guys. So they were kind of like there. Did comic relief.
Did a Lou Scheimer thing ever happen where in maybe one episode it was the Trobits who saved the day instead of?
Oh, of course it was. I'm sure it was. Yeah. But Clone had a shape-shifting ability. He could change form into different things. So to give that illusion for the toy, they had these snap-on parts. So you could snap this wolf body over his head and over his body, and these wolf arms snapped onto his arms, and these legs would then pop in. I think you could pop the legs off and then pop in these new legs. It might have been the same way with the arms. The arms you might have popped off.
That's kind of cool. Yeah. Interchangeable arms and legs.
Yeah, it might have been the same thing with the arms. You might have popped them off, and instead of putting it over the arms, I think you might have actually switched them out. And then a tail would pop into his butt. You know what I mean? There's probably a hole back there. But it would have been cool if later on they made more sets. So in addition to this wolf kind of thing, there was maybe, like, I don't know, a bird or something, because, like, he could turn into other things in the cartoon.
Well, they could have. I guess they could have made an accessory pack with some extra bodies and arms and legs for him.
Yeah, or something like that.
Yeah,
Exactly.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe they had that plan down the road, but it got canceled before they could do anything about it. But I do want to say the other thing is some of these Trobits did come on their own card.
Oh, really?
So they might not have all come with the figure, which could be why a couple of them are rare. Like this one is medium rare, Riff, and then we have Gossamer is super rare. This one is well over $100.
The Trobits have any articulation, or were they
none at all? They're just a statue. Yeah. And you can see like this is so rare that the guy couldn't find a mint one for the picture. There's a lot of paint rub on the arm and legs and his feet. So it's like they couldn't even find a mint one for the picture on the website. You know what I mean? It's like he's super rare. And they did make the balloon, which I think we're going to get to at some point.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I was looking at the vehicle list just a minute ago. Let's move on because I don't want to take over the show.
And this is a common one. So basically you got this guy, and Terra, this one.
Okay.
So this guy, Polo, and Balcar are the common ones that'll be like $10 or less. You know what I mean? But then when you try to get Gossamer, it's like over $100. You know
what makes him so special?
What I'm thinking is he must not have come on with a character. He must have either been by himself or he may have come with the wind machine. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, Geek Strong in the house. Hey, what's going on, man?
How you doing, Dino? If you want to join us, click that join button at the top. I know you sometimes like to join. Anyone's welcome to join us, by the way, like the way Bill did here. And Riff is a medium rare. I've seen him for like $50-$60, but rarely is he down in that $10 range. So he must have come like on his own card back or
if
some other.
Came on a card back, would they come like two Trobits to a card back or something like that? You know?
No. When I've seen them on card, they're just a small bubble with just the one figure.
Wow! So
they probably weren't the same price. Like like let's say the figure was like $4.99 or something back then for the 6-inch figures. I don't know what they would have been, $3.99. I don't know, but let's say that's that. This guy would have been like $1.99. You know what I mean? Like they didn't charge you the same price back then, and I think it was probably one of those things where like they had to have a lower end thing on the shelf that was $1 or $2 to compete with Star Wars and G.I. Joe and other things. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So we got an Overlord that has the glowy. Now this part would glow, and it's different than the original Overlord. The original Overlord didn't even have that thing in there.
Now, which are more desirable, the Series 1 or Series 2?
I don't see a difference in the price whenever I've gone looking them up. Mm-hmm. So based on like retail and monetary value or whatever, it doesn't seem like one is more rare or more desirable than the other, at least for like Blackstar and Overlord. But personally myself, I would much rather have the first version than the second.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
The sparking feature in their chest doesn't appeal to you.
No. I'm glad that I have the first version of Blackstar, and Overlord. It just kind of happened. I got this version, but if I ever see the regular version for cheap enough where I feel like it's worth me just grabbing it, I'm gonna grab it.
Was this sparking feature in their chest? Was that something that was featured on the show? Perhaps, maybe.
No, I think what it was is it's more because when they powered up, the lightning would come down and stuff. You know what I mean? It was very similar to He-Man, where when they used that sword, they would light up with power. So I think this was kind of like trying to mimic that light up with power feature. Do you know what I mean? So okay. I guess yes and no in a sense. Yes, in a way,
Chat saying Melvor says a Black Demon was released in Europe going for $100 or more.
Wow.
And Thousandth Ghost. Hey, what's going on, man? He says the Trobits also came in 4-packs.
Oh, okay. I've never seen a 4-pack. That's crazy. I've never seen a 4-pack, but wow. Is there a black thing here? Wow. Good morning.
Dino.
I don't have any of these anymore. Wow. By the way, hello, Chris.
Geek Fitness show today.
Yeah, we got to know. Are you doing the Geek Fitness today? Yeah. So then Cadre, that's the bazooka guy again, and he's this. Oh, I see. So the original Cadre had the yellow parts. So the Cadre is vastly different. So he used the original one had the yellow. So mine is the sparkly one, which doesn't have the parts on it. Okay. So all I need is the cape for mine. And the cape is a separate piece on that Cadre, where the original one, it was connected to the helmet.
And then that cape has a peg in the back with a piece of plastic maybe that plugs in.
The new one does. It's got a piece of plastic going straight across and actually 2 pegs that plug into each shoulder.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder if perhaps our friend the Cape Master might be making cape or could make some capes that could replace these.
And then this Palace Guard, so instead of having a box on his back, he's got a little clip that goes around his waist.
Okay.
So that the original one had a square box that the hose would plug into, where it looks like the Series 2 one had a little clip that just went around his waist because he had the flicker thing on his back, so he couldn't have a backpack. Gotcha. And he had a glowing blue. And then Neptune had a glow. So the only one that's, so I have 2 second series and 2 first series, guys. I see how it works.
And they didn't re-release Mara at all, did they?
No, it doesn't look like it, yeah.
Yeah.
And then Gargo. So these are very similar, just added the chest piece. And then we have, this is another common one. Okay, Carpo Trobit is common. And then we have the orange demon I got, the pink demon I got, the red demon I got, and the blue demon I got. So I'm missing the yellow demon from the first run of demons. Okay. And then third series is where we get the Vizier, that one that I have in the package, and Lava Lock. And this time they carried over the lightning feature, like this part of his chest lit up. So it made it more prominent, right?
Mm-hmm.
The light feature became more prominent. And on Lava Lock, it was his whole head that lit up, you know? So that's the club I'm missing for Lava Lock, this club. And
is that translucent plastic on that club as well?
Yeah, they all glow in the dark, and they're all kind of a see-through yellowish plastic, yeah. Muton, yeah, this guy is crazy. It's like a giant bee thing, but the glow feature would come out of his eyes. The light feature, you know?
Are those handcuffs?
Yeah, he's got these chains. I don't remember exactly the story behind this character, but he is very strange. It's 6 arms, 4 arms, 2 legs, and he looks like a bee, and he's got the same wings as Neptune or whatever that guy was. Tongo or whatever. Gargo? Was it Gargo? Yeah, the same wings as Gargo go on the back of Muton.
Okay.
And it's I've seen this guy out and about, but I'm just like, he doesn't look like he fits in the line, and I don't want him because I just don't like him.
Right.
I don't think he fits with him, and so I've never bought him whenever I see him, but I never see him with the handcuffs anyways. I have seen him with or without the wings, but I actually have never seen those handcuffs in my life, so I don't know if anyone has a complete one that I've ever seen. Yeah.
No Toys and Fitness today says Dino, and Rolando Flores has got a saddy face on there about that.
And then the other one in this last series was this White Knight guy, and he came with a pike, a black pike, and a shield. And again, this guy had a head that glowed based on the light feature. And again, he doesn't fit. He doesn't match his arms and stuff. Like if you saw him in the wild, you wouldn't think this matches the blacks. You know what I mean? He doesn't.
Well, it kind of looked like they were clutching at straws there in series.
Yeah, he doesn't match the other guys the way that they have arms and legs, and you know what I mean. It's just like, what the hell is this? So I don't know if they were just experimenting with changing the design of the figures or what.
Were these series 3 characters? Were they actually in the show, or were they made up by the toy company to go with the line?
That's the thing. I don't remember actually. I'd have to watch it again, but I don't. I almost want to say no. I don't think they were, but I don't know for sure because it's been so long since I watched it.
I'm wondering if by series 3 that if the cartoon show had run its course at that time.
Yeah, I don't think it was on anymore. Yeah, I think it was.
So they probably might have had made up characters to kind of continue the line for
or it's one of those things where like because the Vizier was only in a couple episodes, the Lava Lock was like monsters that he fought when he went to the lava area. So they might have only been in 1 or 2 episodes, and it could have been the same. Like Mutan could have been in 1 episode at one scene, and the White Knight could have been in 1 episode. And they just look so different than their toys that I'm just not remembering them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's probably a situation like that where like you remember there was like a character called Evil Seed in He-Man, and he was basically in 1 or 2 episodes. So I think they just started doing tertiary characters, hoping it would like get people still into the line more and carry on. Because by 85, you're in direct competition with He-Man.
Right.
So Galoob is probably stretching, going, well, we got to like expand the line and get more things because Masters of the Universe has so many different characters. Who can we pull out and make a character of, you know? And then they still failed, so they didn't even bother after that year. They just canceled the line.
Yes, we are live, Blue Sasquatch. We are live.
Yeah, and they also made some different demons during this time, which I never liked.
Don't even look like the other demons.
Yeah, I remember having this guy.
He's an old man, doesn't he?
I remember having that guy, but I never had this one or the red one. And I've seen like this red one out and about, but it doesn't look like it fits the Blackstar line. So I didn't care about getting this. I was like, I don't want this.
He looks like that meme with the owl in it, you know. Oh, really?
This guy probably came with the Lava Lock, which is why I remember having him. Because I had Lava Lock, and I bet this guy came with the Lava Lock. So yeah, here's Warlock in green.
That is awesome looking mouth right there, that green dragon. Wow.
Yeah, so this is basically the version I have. And then like I was saying, there are some that come with yellow.
Now, the yellow winged dragon looks like the wings are a little more articulated.
No, they're the same exact wings.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was just looking at them at different angles.
They can fold. They can rotate on a ball joint, and then they can swing in and out. And I think this one the saddle's more red, where this one had a more orange.
Now, did that saddle just sit on the top, or did it have a?
Yeah, it just slides on. Okay. It doesn't even. Yeah. So like. They couldn't even get a green one with the saddle. I don't think they're that hard to find. They're hard to find. And this Triton bull, it does have strings attaching the saddle because the saddle goes down his back. The horns are always missing. The saddle's always missing. The wings are quite often gone when I see this thing. It was I believe the Triton bull was the thing that Clone rode on when he wasn't
his mount. Okay.
Yeah, when he wasn't in animal form, I think he rode on this. But this again, whenever I see this in the wild, it's basically just the bull. The horns are missing, the saddle's missing, usually the wings are broken or completely missing. So it's like this has got to be the hardest mount to find. So in a sense, this could be like the next grail item of this collection because it's so. And by the way, it's hard to find clone complete. Like this guy,
yeah, I would imagine his extra stuff would be missing.
Yeah, there's always parts missing, and to buy each part can be by the time you're done, you could spend well over $100. $20 on an arm, $20 on a leg, $20, $30 on a tail. You know what I mean? And you're like, well, you find the chest piece most often, and sometimes you find it still stuck to the guy, but the arms won't be there.
Hey, Super John. Jonathan Redmond wants to know: is there a Toy Jeopardy on tonight?
There is 1 p.m. today. There is Toy Jeopardy. And Steve-O right here in the chat with us, Steve-O from Collecting Star Wars, is going to be a contestant today on Toy Jeopardy. Okay. And as well as Chantel, Shanty's on, and Josh, Sith Care Bear Josh. So we got 3 really good players today, and it should be a lot of fun, I hope. So then they did like a spaceship. I think this was Blackstar's ship and how he came from Earth to the land of Blackstar. I forget the planet's name, but then they have a red version of it for some reason. I don't know why.
To have an extra one, so you'd buy another one.
Yeah. I do believe that these somehow these fold in or fold up. I'm not.
Did it come with a cockpit or was it open?
No, I think it was totally open.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Blackstar,
or maybe these opened this way. Maybe they opened down. Like you can see a little slit on this one. They may have opened from the inside down to the wing. You know what I mean? I feel like there was like a cargo container in the back. Like you could open these. Somehow you could open this if I remember correctly. But there was a battle wagon, which I have never ever seen in my life. I don't know if this even got.
Thing.
It apparently got made, but I've never ever seen this thing. I don't. It's almost like it's got to be so obscure that nobody bought it.
The Lost World of the Warlord has a little interesting thing called the Warpult. It's like a catapult. That thing is next to impossible to ever find.
And then here's the balloon. Like I said, they made a Trobbit balloon.
The little cutesy characters would ride in.
Yep. And you know what? What very well could have happened was this Gossamer one with the wings. He may have come with the balloon, and that could be why.
What extras went with what?
No, yeah, it doesn't really say. So that is, I guess, one downfall of the site. It gives you a good way to sort of look at all the images, but you're right. It doesn't really tell you. This came with that character. These 2 characters were bundled together. These were available in a 4-pack.
A couple of times in a bit of research that I've been doing here.
Yeah.
Recently. So yeah, I know of this site, but I'm surprised he's not telling us what came with what, or showing us packaging.
Yeah, I'd like to. We might be able to find some here. I know there's another website that we could look at, but so yeah, he very well could have come with this. This I've never seen the balloon part for sale. I've seen the bottom. For sale with these little balls on it, but I've never ever even seen the balloon in my life. So, but I was aware of this thing where, like the battle wagon, I was never even aware of this. I didn't know, and I didn't know there was a red ship. I've only ever seen the gray one. I don't know why they made a red one, but and then the ice castle is the creme de la creme. This is the one piece that it's the basically, Thundercat Lair or the Hive for Sectars. It's the Castle Grayskull of this line.
What did the Ice Castle tell a story like the Castle Grayskull did, or was it just a hollow piece of plastic with a cool front on it?
No, I think it just it had like a play set in the back.
And a playmat too. Check that out.
Yeah. So a lot like Castle Grayskull and the Hive and other sets of that era. You know what I mean? Like it just had like a little play set in the back and these were all cardboard. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But
that playmat though. That playmat.
Yeah, this is something that I kick myself for because I remember seeing these out in the wild, and it might not have had all the parts, but I remember like at least getting I might not have had like the gun or this little thing, but I remember the glow in the dark pieces. And this whole castle and this little top part. And I would see these for like $10 or $20. And a lot of times they were just in bins or stuffed under someone's table. And half the time they didn't know what it was. They didn't realize it was Blackstar. They didn't know what it was. And I should have bought one back in the 90s when I was seeing them. You know what I mean? For these, throwaway prices, basically. And I probably could have bought 2 or 3 of them and pieced it together and made a good one or something. But at the time, we weren't I wasn't buying Castle Grayskulls. I wasn't buying the Hive. I wasn't buying the big play sets. At the time in the 90s, I was more concerned with just getting all the figures. I was like, I don't care about play sets or vehicles. I just want all the figures. I want all the characters. Mm-hmm. And even with my He-Man collection, I didn't buy a lot of vehicles back then. I was only getting the characters. I didn't even buy a Castle Grayskull in the 90s. I was like, I don't care about these things. And now as an older adult, 50, turning 50 in a couple weeks, I'm like, damn it, I should have bought multiples of all those play sets back in the early 90s. You know what I mean? Because I used to see them all over the place, and now you just don't see them everywhere. It's rare. And this thing is well over $100 nowadays. You know what I mean? It's
I can imagine, and it says that it's made out of this rinky-dink plastic that's easily broken as well. So a lot of these may not have survived.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. But it's one of those. I mean, the Hive from Sectars is another one of those things that I would see around, and the Dungeons and Dragons play set thing, with the big green head. Mm-hmm. I would see them around, but I never. Like I said back then, I wasn't interested in getting the PlayStation.
Well, the thing about the Fortress of Fangs was, I recollect that it was advertised in the toy catalogs for Christmas, and if you bought it, you couldn't get it, and they would tell you, "Oh, we're sorry, this item has been discontinued." So it was discontinued before it even hit the shelves, almost.
Wow! Mm-hmm. Any of these questions going to be on today's Toy Jeopardy? Steve-O is smart watching because he's studying before the show.
Oh, yeah. Notes there, Steve-O says.
Are you taking notes? Actually, I don't know if there's any. I don't remember if there's any Blackstar questions, but if there's any, it's just one, We had a Blackstar question last week. But yeah,
John Boldry is asking. He says He-Man and Blackstar at the same time, but remembers Blackstar first. That's because Blackstar cartoon was on first.
Yeah, Blackstar was first. So here's my theory with We'll remove this and stop sharing because we don't need that one right now. So here's my theory with Blackstar and stuff. So the first thing that it seems like they did was Thundar the Barbarian.
Yeah, that was a different cartoon company. Ruby Spears did that and had a lot of Jack Kirby designs in there. Jack Kirby actually was a consultant for the designs on that show.
Yeah, but here's the thing. The same guys that later went on to work at Filmation, because I knew when I lived in Seattle, there was a guy that lived in Queen Anne, and his real name is Mark Stone. Mm-hmm. But when he worked in animation when he was younger, he went by an alias, and I actually, quite frankly, don't remember what alias he was. But when they would put up at the end of the show, it would just be animators, and a list of 10 people would fly by.
Right.
You know what I mean? And in that list is his name, the pseudo name. Because he was actually, he said to me that he actually did paintings and real artwork. And he didn't want...
There was a lot of that, especially for the backgrounds and stuff like that.
No. I mean, he would have gallery art shows.
Oh, I got you.
Milan and Italy and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
So he had a promising real art career in the real art world. So he didn't want his name associated with cartoons. So instead of being Mark Stone on the cartoons, he was a different name in the animation credits. But I can't remember what name he was at this point. But I was working at a bookstore that did a lot of used, people would sell used books, used DVDs, used movies, stuff like that. And he wanted all the old Filmation stuff and Thundar the Barbarian, things that he worked on. So we made a list. He came in the store one day and I made a list. And throughout a few months, I managed to collect box sets of all the He-Man, She-Ra, Thundar the Barbarian, Blackstar, like all these things. And I piled it up for him and then gave him a ring and said, hey, I managed to get all of the cartoons you worked on, the list you gave me. So he could get DVDs of all the cartoons he worked on when he was younger, because he was seeing that this stuff was all coming back and being popular again. And he wanted to get them all while he had the chance. So as a thank you, he brought me over. He was like, why don't you come over for dinner and we can drop it all off, or for lunch or something. And then I can show you some of the stuff I worked on. So I dropped off all the DVDs and he gave me a box of all these animations in his garage. He had one wall that was all file boxes from floor to ceiling in the garage. So, I mean, this must have been like 10-foot tall stacks of those white file boxes, the standard white file box. Mm-hmm. And they were full from one end of the garage to the other. So it was probably like 30 feet long and 10 feet high. And they were full of animation cells that he took home from his job.
Oh, man.
From all the different. So he gave me a box of random cells that had stuff from Blackstar, He-Man, Ghostbusters, Ewoks. There was, what else was in there? I don't know. There was a huge number of different cartoons, and there's a couple. Yeah, there was Skeletor, there was He-Man, so there's no Transformers, there was no G.I. Joe, which kind of depressed me, but pretty much everything else, there's at least one cell of in this box.
The Transformers and G.I. Joe cartoons weren't done in America like the Filmation cartoons were.
Maybe that's what it was. Yeah, maybe that's why he didn't get to work on those. But so he worked on Thundar the Barbarian. And then I also met a guy who when I lived in Seattle, he lived across the border in Utah, I think it was. And his name was Thomas Cook. And Thomas Cook actually used his real name on the animation stuff, so you can see it in the credits. And Tom Cook was on my podcast talking about it a couple times. And I met him at conventions, and like he gave me a print that is like number 2 of 25. He did like he made a thing where he was only doing 25 of this print. Right. And he kept aside number 2. So when I went to the convention, he's like, this one's for you, my friend, and I got number 2 of 25. He kept number 1 for himself. But
your stories are entertaining, Melvor there. Oh, dang, that's so cool, he says. And Bouldry says he heard that Blackstar's sword is in the Master's pilot cartoon. No, it was not. But what it was is the idea of a double sword was in the original toy series. Yeah,
and it may have been in the original cartoon, because technically the first Masters of the Universe cartoon was a cartoon they did for the commercial. Yes, and I think that commercial might show them breaking the sword into 2 because the toy.
I have that commercial.
Oh, it doesn't? Okay, because I know the toy does in that cartoon.
That was in the original storyline that was written by Don Glut.
Is it in those little mini comics too, or not?
The very first 4 mini comics feature the double sword, and I think that a few of the DC mini comics that DC Comics did afterwards. The double sword idea was in there, in that He-Man had half and Skeletor had half, but then they dropped that all together when Filmation came out.
Yeah, because but see, so basically these guys all worked, like Tom Cook and Mark Stone, they all worked on Thundar, and then they worked on Blackstar, and then they worked on He-Man and Masters of the Universe. And what's interesting is they have told me that Thundar failed in their minds because it was too adult. Mm-hmm. There wasn't a lot of kiddie like little things in it. So when they went to work for Filmation and they got handed Blackstar, they were like, we got to have something for the kids. So they invented the Trobbits.
Right.
And they said, and also like in Thundar the Barbarian, they were 6-legged horses that the group rode on. And those things didn't have a personality. They were just like a beast of burden. Mm-hmm. So they made Warlock a little bit more having a personality. They were like, what's better than horses. We can't have our guy riding around on a horse. So what's better than, back during Thundar, we didn't think like, what could we do? We didn't think
Well,
outside the
they
box.
weren't thinking toyetic either.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't think they even made Thundar toys.
No, they did not.
So at least back then, I know that someone has done them more recently.
They did.
But,
Well, that was for us.
Yeah. So when they were designing and coming up with Blackstar, they said that what he rides has to be cooler than a horse. Let's do a dragon. And then they were like, and give it a personality so it has more to do with it. So when kids get the toy, they're going to play with it as a character in the show,
Or not only that, it's so integral to the show that the kids have to have the toy in order to play the storyline out.
Yeah. And then, but again, Blackstar failed for some reason. Some reason it didn't click with the kids as much as they wanted. So when Mattel came to Filmation and said, we have a Barbarian toy line, the guys who were designing and working on it, like Mark Stone and Thomas Cook, they were like, holy crap, here's our chance. We now have a third chance to get this right. Mm-hmm. So they said, okay, instead of a dragon, he's riding a cat and it turns into Battle Cat. Let's make it have more than just a personality. This thing actually talks and is like a friend. You know what I mean? And then they were like, the Trobbits were too much for people. There was too many of them. They were too like dorky and cutesy. Instead of having a whole village full, let's just make one. And he's going to be a little sorcerer guy that gets things wrong. And it's Orko. You know what I mean? So they basically learned lessons from Thundar. They learned lessons from Blackstar, and then they were able to tweak those. And by getting feedback from people, like they always did customer like feedback things where they would show, what do they call it when they show kids the toys and they show them a cartoon and they get their feedback and then they can adapt it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. That there's
they have a word for it, right? Don't they have a phrase or something they call it?
But that's interesting because you're correct. The Battle Cat in the original storyline in the first 4 mini comics that were written by Don Glutt was just He-Man's animal friend that he could make a jungle call and call for out of the jungle. He didn't talk or anything like that. He was just a cat.
Yeah.
So the idea of him being able to talk and having a personality, that's interesting how that kid. This is interesting. This is a good show. Hey Adam, what's going on, man?
Yeah, what's up, AMW?
America's Most Wanted, and
he's in the house.
We got Adam from Radical Toys is showing up.
Yeah, Figure Realm was the other one I was going to look at. Good call there, Chris. Radical Toys, how you doing? Good to see you. So I basically feel like, my theory on the end of it is, from the bits and pieces I had from talking to Mark and talking to Thomas Cook, and then putting it together in my mind as to what must have happened, I sort of have this vision in my head that they took what they learned from Thundar and helped make Blackstar. And then when they figured out what worked in Blackstar and what didn't work, they were able to tweak those things and make it work for He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. But to the combination of having the right amount of toys hitting at the right time with a cartoon that had been perfected because they had 2 other iterations to sort of go through and perfect it with, you can see an evolution from Thundar through Blackstar into He-Man. They had time to sort of perfect it, and then that combination of toys and a perfected cartoon kind of made He-Man become the worldwide hit and sensation that it became. You know what I mean?
This has been very informative for me because the connection of the Thundar to Blackstar and then there to Motu would have been lost on me. I did not know that. So thank you so much.
It's an interesting thing to think about. You know what I mean? Like I said, I don't have a lot of firsthand. I mean, I had a couple conversations with Mark Stone and Thomas Cook, but we didn't get this much in depth about it. But it's like I can imagine that in my head where the same guys worked on it. The same guys worked on all these shows. and
Well,
you can see.
I knew there were a lot of crossovers with those animators because there
Yeah,
were only a certain number of people who are able to do that in the first place.
yeah,
And I know that they kind of went from shop to shop because when a job like this, it's 13 episodes. Once that job plays out, now everybody has to go find work again.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. And fortunately, Blackstar and Masters were almost back to back at Filmation, so
Well,
they basically could.
there was also another cartoon show that with the word "star" in it, and that would be Brave Star.
Brave Star, yeah, and Galtar was Hanna-Barbera though, wasn't he? Yeah, Galtar was Hanna-Barbera. Because there was also Galtar and the Golden Lance was another Barbarian show, but I think that was Hanna-Barbera, and I don't know if they ever made toys for it, but it didn't really go anywhere. I think
Well,
once kids
with,
really latched on to Masters of the Universe, like everything else was a ripoff. So
there was a law there for a while that they couldn't do that. They couldn't advertise toys like they did with He-Man on television like that. So a lot of our Saturday morning fare from the late 1960s through the 70s, there weren't
they couldn't
toy lines for
yeah
because
they couldn't
they
make
weren't allowed
toys.
to do that.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
wasn't until Ronald Reagan became president and the law changed that it was like lightning in a bottle for Mattel because they're like, okay, now we can do a cartoon show that's basically a commercial for our toys.
Yeah. Yeah, and then everything hit. I mean, there was G.I. Joe, Transformers, like every toy line had a half-hour commercial, cartoon,
in
cartoon. You know,
my opinion, the real Ghostbusters at the time was even more popular than the movie ever thought about being. If it had it for real Ghostbusters, that might have been a one and done movie.
Yeah.
And Marshall Bravestar, an 80s classic. Yeah, I remember Bravestar as well. He came out a little later, though. And
yeah, you know, and what's funny is I was never really a Bravestar fan. I didn't actually when we were young, we didn't like the idea of the horse that could talk like that. We just didn't.
Well, that's another, like coming out of what you were talking about with the animators and the guys who were doing the series. The horse talked so that it could be more toyetic for the toys when they sold them. They thought, and that didn't work on you guys.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Yeah, here it is. Figure.
Eric Bird in the house. Ghostbusters. Tiger Sharks. Cops.
Yep, I remember Cops. Yeah. I didn't have a lot of Cops. That was another one I didn't have a lot of.
A lot of this stuff came out later on in my life as I was 12 years old when He-Man came out, so that was right about the end of my toy collecting as a child. Salute to you too, Mr. Bird. Geo Force 20 in the house. G-Force Racing.
Yeah, G-Force. Hey, G. What's up? So, yeah, let's go to, let me present this screen. We're going to go to this.
Figure Realm.
The Figure Realm one that Chris was bringing up here.
Figure Realm is a pretty good site.
The only thing that annoys me about Figure Realm is all the ads, because I
guess they're paying for their web space with those ads. I get it, but yeah.
Yeah. We've got so basically
here.
How is this coming up? Okay, yeah, good.
Let me do this. Let me pull this up a little bigger. John, can you take us off the screen and make your share the full screen? There we go.
Yeah.
All right.
So
by riding that thing, there's a hole in the top he could ride.
Yeah. So these things would pop open and they would. So this makes it a little cooler than what we saw.
Yeah.
But it's still a weird. I don't remember ever seeing this.
Like a little tank, and look, the little tribits are in the little holes there. Okay.
Yeah, they're neat.
While
right?
they're there now, okay. I wonder if that thing was in the cartoon.
But here's the.
That is a beautiful box.
But see how these ads keep popping up on the bottom? It's like, come on, get them off the page. And there's ads here all over the place. It's like there's more ads than toys. It's
right. Right.
But yeah, like you
I've
said,
gone
they're
completely ad blind. I don't even see that stuff anymore when I'm looking at a site. I ignore it.
well, it bothers me when this pops up every time I click on something. Just one at the
Yeah.
bottom. Like the insert ads like here wouldn't bother me as much. It's the ones that pop up on the bottom and stuff. So here's that balloon. Let's look at this balloon. Do they show? All right, yeah, it does come with a couple Trobits. Well, no, those are the.
They just
That's
showing
the
those. They're just
wrong.
showing those.
Yeah,
Show the box. Show the box up there. I thought I saw the box on that other screen.
yeah. So did this inflate? I think it must have inflated, right?
Blow it up like a blow up.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Well, on the box they are showing those too.
they may have come with it. It includes
Yeah,
2 Trobits, it says. So
yeah.
yeah, they came with the balloon. Now, the little strings that hold the balloon up, were they actually just little solid plastic things that fit into holes in the thing or something?
Let me see here. See, this looks like it blows up somehow. And
Yeah,
there's little tabs. They do look plastic, don't they? They do look plastic, not
uh-huh. They're not string.
like
And I think
string.
they got to
Yeah.
be because there's nothing to hold it up otherwise.
Yeah, you're right. It would have just fallen down onto the. Yeah.
And those look like something that would be broken very easily. So
Oh,
I
I'm
bet
sure. Yeah.
intact those are just impossible to find. Oh wow.
So here he is with the yellow wings.
Warlock, the dragon horse of Zagar.
And then the green wings again. That's the same picture we saw from before.
Right. Yeah, everybody steals pictures for Figure Realm. That's why he's got it branded.
And yeah, she like this girl. Whenever I see her out in the wild, I never see these accessories. Like I've yeah. But here you go. So there you go. See how it came with the Trobit?
Right.
And so what it is that's the same guy that comes with the ship. So why is the and yeah, here we go. Here's a Trobit on his own.
Okay.
So basically he came with a character, he came with a vehicle, and he came on his own card.
And that's
So
why
that's why he's like $10 because he was super common.
right.
Where this guy, it looks like he may have only come on his card. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So he didn't come in multiple different ways of getting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the only people who got him were the ones that bought him on card.
And there probably very, very few children bought that carded figure.
And
So
see these other common ones are here, and they came on a card, but they also came with a figure.
Yeah.
You know,
So
yeah.
if you wanted the figures, you were forced to get those. And there's the 4-pack there.
There's the 4-pack that Chris was talking about. Yeah.
And the other little Trobit came in that one. You see him up there, the rare one. He came.
Yeah, with the wings. Yeah, with the ears. But again, you got the 2 common ones in this box as well.
Right.
So there was like 4 or 5 different ways to get the 2 common ones, and only 2 ways to get the one with the wings.
And like I said, what kids are going to buy just the Trobits? Now they'll buy the figure and get the Trobit by default.
Yeah.
I know I probably as a child wouldn't have bought the Trobits. I would have thrown them aside. I'd go straight for Blackstar and all the main characters. Were you like that, Super John, when you were a kid?
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said, we had Blackstar as a kid, and we had the Palace Guard and the Lava Lock, but we didn't bother with, much of the other characters. They don't even have the Lava Lock on their list here. Interesting. And this is the Ice Castle box.
Oh, let's get a close look at that. I like the artwork on the outside of that box.
Yeah, that's cool.
And he doesn't even show the play mat and all the cool stuff that came inside of it in that.
Yeah, you're right.
I bet that stuff got lost right off the bat anyway.
especially that play mat, right? I mean, like people.
Well, that
Yeah.
was torn up quickly in my house. You know, that's an interesting thing. Did you know that Castle Grayskull was originally going to come with a play mat?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it was going to be the moat around Castle Grayskull. That was the actual Dwell of Souls, or actually was that moat playmat. And Mark Taylor actually designed and made the whole thing, but they dropped it because it would have made cost too much to include that in there. But you can actually get a reproduction of that playmat from the Power and Honor Society.
Interesting. Good to see you, Lunar Girl. Thanks for hanging out with us. Hello, Duff Man. Good to see you popping in. G-Force, you too. So, Bill, we're gonna wind it down here. I got a couple more minutes before I'm gonna go get some food here. And then is there Lego Studs today? There might be a Lego Studs.
I know around the same time you're doing Jeopardy's when my normal show comes on. I'll be doing that today as well. Everybody.
Are you on at noon or are you on at 1 Eastern?
It's Eastern time. It's actually 12 Central, so it's 1.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Unfortunately, but that's my normal time. I usually do it. Me and Largo are going to come on and goof around a little bit.
Well, everyone throw on 2 shows. Watch Bill's show and get your iPad and your TV going on your computer on one, your iPad on another. I don't know. Whatever.
I might. I've done this in the past, and it doesn't normally work out too well. But we may try to cross those streams on my show as well.
There you go.
A little bit.
And
Duffman's dioramas down there is. Do you have a YouTube channel, Duffman? Is there some place we can go?
Yeah, Duffman's right here.
Here we go. All right, cool.
Yeah.
There's an Instagram link. All right.
He does some great dioramas and takes great pictures of them.
I'm into that. You know, I like to do a lot of diorama making and stuff like that. So that might be a site for me to go check out.
Gary's here too. How you doing, Gary?
Hey, Gary's Grails. Good to see you, man. And see you.
He's saying it's just the Instagram there. So,
okay, just Instagram. Okay. I'm hoping that maybe he shares ideas on there so that we can get our imagination sparked for our own dioramas. He says he doesn't know about whether the pictures are good or not. I'm sure that they are.
Oh, they're good. Yeah, no, they're good. He does a good job. Christopher Barker's here. Hey, Christopher, How you doing? Good to see you, Christopher. Chris usually watches our game live stream, so it's cool to see him on this too. So that was Blackstar we were looking at, and hope you guys enjoyed taking a look at these and looking at the websites and piecing together on our own a couple of little tidbits about how Blackstar helped evolve into He-Man and Masters of the Universe.
I love that part of the show.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, because that put a piece of puzzle in there that I had been missing for years and years and years.
Yeah, it's interesting, the connections that you can, once you start digging into it, you can see those connections and that evolution of how it helped, like Blackstar helped make He-Man and Masters Universe as popular as it is.
I know a lot of people talk about the fact that Blackstar had the double sword, and they thought that they copied that idea for He-Man, but that's not true. The toy line idea and Don Glut's idea of the double sword was before Blackstar because of the toy line. Just one of those like Man Thing, Swamp Thing coincidence things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So next week, I'm not 100% sure yet, but I do want to do He-Man and Masters of the Universe coming up sometime soon, and but the problem is getting to them, because there's if I can do this without
that's a very familiar site.
This like pile of boxes is actually this used to be the walkway to the He-Man stuff. So
my junk room down here is like a hoarder room. It's got like a pathway to go through to get out of the room.
And I feel like a hoarder right now, and my pathway is even gone. My pathway is even full of boxes now, so I can't even get to the other half of the toy room at the moment.
Lobot says, great show, very interesting. Take care, Lobot. Glad you showed up, man. And you
Yeah.
guys, if you haven't hit like and subscribe. If you haven't hit that, and give Super John some love here.
Thanks, Bill. Thank you. So yeah, I hope you guys don't mind, but we're gonna take off. Let me know in the comments afterwards if there's anything that I missed or stuff that you wanted brought up that I didn't bring up, and maybe I can answer those in a future episode. And if I can get to the He-Man stuff, we'll do He-Man next week. But if I can't, I've got a few other things like Starcom I want to go into in depth and other stuff like that.
I love this show, the morning vintage show. I love that. I try to catch it if I can. A lot of times I oversleep and don't catch it.
No, I know, yeah.
If you do a He-Man show, you've got to give me some heads up because I got to be on that show, man.
All right, yeah. It's one of those things where I always wake up between 5 and 6. It's just my natural rhythm, and I enjoy, getting a drink, going for my morning walk, and then coming in and sitting down and just looking at my toys on a Sunday morning, and it's relaxing to me. And so I just one day started doing it with you guys instead of just on my own, and it's worked out well.
Enjoyable when you have friends over to play with your toys, right?
Yeah, exactly. If I can't bring them here physically, you can come here virtually and play along.
Well, somebody was talking about that. We were talking about that on my show the other night. I think it was Wilhelm Toy and Hobby was saying there's virtual bicycles all out in front of our house.
Yeah. yeah. And it also works out because if anybody in Australia wants to watch, it's right before they go to bed. And the guys in the UK, it's a perfect time in the early afternoon.
I don't think Zazel actually sleeps. I think he naps between YouTube shows.
There you go. Yeah. Well, I told my dad that he wants to stay up tonight. I think one of the football games isn't until like 8:00 at night our time because it might be a West Coast game, and so he wants to try and watch the whole thing, but it's difficult for him to stay up now that he's older. So I was like, why don't you take a nap during the day? And he's like, I don't know if that's going to, because he was like, he ran to Starbucks and got a bunch of Starbucks for later in the day to heat up and like keep himself awake to watch this game. And I was like, why not just like take a nap? And he goes, that doesn't work. He goes, at my age, if I fall asleep, I'm asleep. He's
yeah.
So... All right. Later on today, there is Jeopardy, and it will be with, there's the link. Thanks, Orlando. It's going to be with Steve-O from Collecting Star Wars, with Chantel and Josh from Scarif After Dark. And so those three contestants are going to go head-to-head in Toy Jeopardy. Jeopardy, the Tournament of Toys. We're going to have Geek Strong again as our co-host. And as always, Dino has come up with a little bit of an intro to introduce each of the players, and then myself and himself. And
are there prizes involved, Super John?
Yes, we have a whole bunch of Lego prizes still.
Oh wow,
going.
Cool.
This is this basically came about because at Christmas, Lego sent me a Christmas themed set. This year it was Friends. In the past, I've got Star Wars themed sets, Ninjago, various other sets. They do a set that is exclusive to only Lego employees. No one else can get it. Cool. And it has colored bricks that are only made for that set, and stuff. So it's a specific thing.
Do they get upset when the employee only sets wind up on Evil Bay?
If you're still an employee, yes. If you have quit your job or retired, no, they understand that. So a lot of us who work, like I have a stash in one of my sheds of like display material and other sets and things that only we can get, that when I retire from Lego, they're all going to go sold. And everyone does that. Like my boss showed me her garage and she's like, well, this is all stuff for when I retire from Lego and I can sell and make a little bit of retirement money on, So
I know it's time to go, but you bring up something that I've always wanted to ask. I've heard that most toy companies don't want to hire people who actually play with toys or collect toys because they want people who will actually work and not play with the toys all day. Is it like that at Lego, or do most of the employees play with the Lego toys?
Well, now they actually encourage and want people who play with toys.
Okay.
I actually found out later that when my boss hired me, having the YouTube channel and the podcast actually helped. Not only did I have a background in store merchandising and brand merchandising from my job in Seattle, because I helped merchandise 8. There were 8 bookstores. Most of the time I was at like 6 or so, but there were 8 in the district that I could go to, and so I had experience setting up displays and merchandising books and things like that, so it could translate over to merchandising Lego, but in addition to that, what helped me kind of get the job was they liked that I knew about Lego, I knew about toys, I had a YouTube and podcast about toys and games and stuff, so and they had watched it before the interview because I had told them.
Oh,
so
that must have felt good to know that they were actually watching your show.
Well, I think it was because I put it on the resume. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah. So they checked it out ahead of time. But it's like, so they're I think it did kind of help me get the job. And I later found out after working here that like they did a shift like maybe 15, 20 years ago where Lego as a brand, they originally were not hiring people that had anything to do with toys because they wanted to run the company, like a serious business.
Yeah, exactly.
But what happened was the designers had no idea how to play with Lego. Like they even went so far as to hire designers that had nothing to do with toys. They had no idea. You know what I mean? So they were making pieces that were like half the airplane. You know, and it was one piece and then like another. So they were very simple to put together, and they lost sight of the bricks. You know what I mean? Like the foundation of Lego is the bricks. And when one of the kids took over, that was one of the things he did. He went and said, it doesn't work if we don't have people. The reason we've been failing is because we have people who don't understand the toy. So they went out and they found the best people who were taking photographs and sharing photos and stuff like that of them building Lego at home, and said, let's hire that person as a Lego designer because they've been playing with Lego for 20 years of their life. They know what they're doing. So they started hiring these, and then they got licenses like Star Wars and Marvel and DC Batman and stuff like that. And then started making their own licensed product like Ninjago and City. And they were like, let's make stories about these things that people can play with. And it all came. So now they actually they want people who play with toys to be in the toy business. And I'm sure, I would imagine that the same thing happened at Hasbro, Mattel, and different things. You know what I mean? There are these dark periods in all these toy companies where you're like, yeah, the toys just weren't the best. And then they got better. Like today we got Vintage Collection and Black Series and different things. Their Marvel Legends is really cool. So I'm sure they started hiring people who were into the subject matter that they're designing for. And I bet not only just Lego, but I'd be willing to bet that even Mattel and Hasbro went through some of those phases as well. And they now encourage people. Because I know the guy that does Hasbro displays, the representative that comes in, him and I talk all the time, and he's into, not as much as a collector as we are, but he's into the subject matter of Star Wars and Marvel as far as the movies and comics and things. You know what I mean?
You have to know a little bit about the subject matter of what you're making toys of if you're going to make toys, I would think.
Yeah.
And you can tell when they don't. You can tell when they don't.
Yeah. And there's a little bit of that debate going on right now. I mean, between the Marvel group at Hasbro clearly loves Marvel comics and movies, and they're translating that into Marvel toys, where the Star Wars group, you start questioning, oh, the stormtrooper was a classic scene where the Rancor ate the stormtrooper. It's like, have you even seen Return of the Jedi? The stormtrooper and the Rancor never cross paths, let alone get eaten by it. You know what I mean? So how can you make that statement during a live stream that this classic scene of the stormtrooper being eaten by the Rancor?
Well,
Like,
I mixed up the stormtrooper with another character like Boba Fett or whatever. I mean, they all look the same.
Yeah. But what it is that you clearly know that person doesn't watch Star Wars, so there's a disconnect there on their Star Wars side as far as the viewers are concerned. You know what I mean?
And that is off-putting to those of us who do collect and are fans of those movies. When we see the people like that doing that, it's off-putting.
Yeah. All right, my friend Bill. Guys out there, we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Remember to come back later on today. I don't know if there's a Lego studs. We got a link for them. So if there's Lego studs, be sure to tune into that.
Rolando says he doesn't see a stream link, so if they haven't put up a placeholder, they may not be doing that. I don't know.
Yeah, and then later today we got Jeopardy over on my channel with 3 awesome contestants, and Bill will be doing his live stream right around the same time. Yeah. So if you can do 2 screens,
we might cross it up a little bit. We might show a little bit of what you guys are up to over there.
Good. Thanks. And if you can do 2 screens, play both of them. All right, guys.
As long as you don't crash the poor little hamsters that are running in treadmills to keep my shit running. To keep my stuff running over here.
All right, guys. We'll see you later. All right.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.